framed around the following questions. So, what's your appetite for and interested in a membership scheme similar to the old Crazy Gang membership? And should that be part of the trust membership or separate from it? And if it's part of the membership, what should there be other benefits? What other benefits would you expect? I'm not quite sure what that question is. If it's part of the trust membership, should it be as a non-voting associate member of the trust with a lower membership fee than full trust membership? And would you pay more for trust membership if it was attached with such benefits? And how much would you be prepared to pay? So we're going to kind of break into groups and have some discussion around that and just feedback. It was going to be a 20-minute, but cut it down a bit, 10, 15? Yeah? So can you gather into areas, please? Interesting discussion, and it was kind of, the questions raised were really around, okay, so if there was a secondary ticketing scheme that involved Don's Trust membership and gave you priority and discounts, what if you were already a season ticket holder and a Don's Trust member, but then you ultimately end up paying more for Don's Trust membership without necessarily getting any of the additional benefits because you've already got them with your season ticket. And then we had a bit of a discussion around should you automatically become a Don's Trust member as part of your season ticket. And there was sort of some things around what does that mean for fans who are season ticket holders but aren't engaged in the Don's Trust. And there was kind of a general consensus that the touch points when you buy tickets for the games, whether it's the season ticket or just a ticket to come and attend a casual match, there isn't really a point to kind of prompt you to realise that the Don's Trust exists and that you could sign up. So that's something that's worth kind of considering for sort of like maybe keeping the Don's Trust at £25 and prompting people as they buy their tickets what we're about and to sign up. And then there was also just a general discussion around there being more kind of non-monetary value benefits to being a Don's Trust member. So one of the members of the group was talking about maybe there being your kind of guarantee when you. He explained where I don't know where he is. He explained it better than me. You're there. Around the priority for return seats. So if you're a Don's Trust member, you get priority for the seats, so you don't necessarily have to come up early to the concessions. So that was our chat. I don't know, Rob, do you want to?
Okay, the group over here in this corner, we thought it was a good idea to have a membership scheme. We did also mention the idea of a resale scheme. So at the moment here, if you tell the club you can't make a game, the club will resell your ticket. But there's the idea like Tottenham have, where it's basically kind of an exchange scheme where the season ticket holder, if they return their ticket, they actually get the money back themselves. That kind of came up as an idea. And the other idea related to that was to let the club, for the club to let the fans know at the end of the season how much value the club had made when they had returned their ticket. That makes sense? I'm not sure it did. Thank you. So the idea of tying into trust membership, it was felt that would help draw in younger members of the trust. It was mentioned there would probably be VAT implications. I think we're probably aware of that now as the trust and the club, that there would be those implications. An idea was to have trust merchandise as well. We used to have that when we moved to in 2002 when we set up, we had merchandise. We don't have that anymore. Could we have that tied into it? There was also the mention of tying membership of the trust to season tickets. The worry about having a disengaged membership, the point was made that turnout is already quite low. If you look around the meeting here, we've got 3,000 members. How many people are here? And the only real time we need to have a large turnout is when we change restricted actions, which kind of protect ownership on the stadium and stuff like that. And really, you shouldn't be having to do that very often. So not having a particularly active membership is not actually such an issue. It's recognised trust ownership is a unique selling point. Another idea was maybe for a 5% discount for trust membership. And also, I like this one myself, a draw each week. So the trust have a box or a row of seats or something like that. And there's a draw among the membership to get a seat in the box or in the seats. And there was also an idea for having fringe benefits, like kind of if we have a shirt launch, maybe trust members get to go along to that earlier. Concessions, it was felt maybe discounts for 16 to 25-year-olds. We currently do that for 16 to 18-year-olds, I think. So maybe expanding that. And at the other end of the age range, there was an idea for standardising. Currently, if you are a member of the trust, you get a concession when you reach 60. And if you are a season ticket holder, you get it when you're 65. So just kind of things like standardising that. I think I've kind of covered everything that I've managed to scribble down. So I shall hand over to the next group. Do we need the roving mic for that?
Okay, so a few points from ours, and we said the thing we kicked around really was, does a secondary ticketing membership coupled with trust membership confuse the offer or enhance the offer? And the people in the group I was part of, I think basically said secondary ticketing sounds like a good idea for increasing the engagement of local people with this club, but keep it separate from Don's Trust membership was the initial reaction from that group. One interesting question actually came up, sort of off topic, but have we ever asked our members, why are you a member of the Don's Trust? And I don't know if we have ever asked that question. Have we? Because to what extent priority in ticket allocation is a factor for joining the trust or not, and there was some disagreement on that, and if it wasn't a survey.
In the survey, 74% said owning the club.
Okay, 74% said owning the club. That's really interesting. Then a couple of other things. So the question of, well, if you're a secondary ticket holder, is that actually a tertiary ticket holder in the sense of priority of allocation for tickets? Where do they rank relative to PLC shareholders and Don's Trust members when it comes to allocation of tickets, which was an interesting question, I think, to be ironed out. We asked about whether there was any appetite to increase the membership price. Some felt that a significant increase would be a deterrent to families. One interesting point was, what about reducing membership price for new joiners for 1 or perhaps 2 years? So you can join the trust for a tenner, let's say, but then you go up to a full price when you renew. But that kind of gives you the opportunity to see what it's like in the trust, and it kind of gives us a duty to make it interesting enough for people to want to renew, having come in at a lower price. So I thought that was quite interesting. And then a final observation that actually one way of drawing in a local community when we go back to Merton is to give away free tickets to youngsters in schools, and some of you became fans that way many years ago. So that was what came up in our group. Is there another group? Oh yeah, sorry, a good point. We also said, what about, I went off piste and said, what about Don's Trust membership being packaged with season tickets? And the general, and I said, should it be entirely separate? Should there be an opt-in on your season ticket application? Should there be an opt-out, i.e., unless you opt out, you pay £25 more and are a member of the trust? And the view of the group was that there should be an opt-out approach. So that was interesting feedback. So I should say everyone in that group was a season ticket holder, so that's somewhat relevant. Okay, are we done on this topic, or is there another group I didn't see? Cormac.
Excuse the voice. It's been a long school day, and Saturday was pretty epic and distressing. We discussed football for 5 minutes. Yeah, that lowered the mood. But then we had this really interesting discussion about the different hats we have here at AFC Wimbledon, in the sense, are we able in this room as Don's Trust members so when we discuss issues, do we sometimes actively put on our Don's Trust hat? At other times, do we actively put on our football fan hat, in terms of when we're sat talking about the experience on a Saturday, what's happening on the pitch, and then equally the wider discussions we have about issues around the club? We really focused on, there was a concern that emerged in terms of memberships around 3,000. It's been around that level. We talked about the quality of membership we have here, but there was a concern that emerged in terms of when we move to Plough Lane, and we're all going to be very accepting of people who come for the first time to experience AFC Wimbledon, the progression they have from being a flaky fan to becoming more involved. We talked about our own journeys where, as younger fans, perhaps through football in the community, you would get a ticket to come for the first time. We talked about how at Sellers Park, the Crazy Gang membership had a really significant role in incentivising you to then maybe look to set aside more Saturdays to get involved, the progression through to having a season ticket holder. And maybe actually what happens here is that we then think about how we can target season ticket holders to make that progression to becoming Don's Trust members, maybe through more match day engagement. But again, a lot of repetition. We had the same discussions about the opt-in, the opt-out, but the narrative we had was about the quality of the membership. It's going to be a long school day tomorrow as well. It's going to be a really tough week.
Thanks. So have we all those groups fed back? Yes? Okay, so it is 25 to 10. We have 2 agenda items, well, sort of 3 if you add AOB. I've got a couple of housekeeping or a few announcements. What is the level of energy? What time do people want to be out? We can get you out in 10 minutes. We can get you out at 10 o'clock. Where? I heard a bid for 10 minutes, yeah? Oh, 10 o'clock. Okay, all right, that's fine. We're going to get you out by 10 o'clock. So that does give, Rob, that doesn't excuse you from doing your presentation on the Constitution Review.
Okay, I'll try and be quick, and before anyone falls asleep. So we're going to have a constitution review. Why are we doing that? Basically, the current one was originally drafted back in 2002, when the whole idea of a trust-owned club was a novel idea. It hasn't been updated since 2013. And since then, Supporters Direct have issued new guidance on best practice. So we should probably try and make sure that we are incorporating what they recommend. The current constitution also has a whole load of creeps around it. Rule 55. There is no Rule 55. That's what it actually says in the constitution. Well, yeah, the fact that it says there's no Rule 55 means there is a Rule 55. Yeah, you're right, Mark, thank you. But we could quite happily take that out and tidy it up a bit. And it doesn't currently reflect our current position. The restricted actions, just for a quick summary, they relate to kind of bigger decisions we have to make, like selling a ground. They currently refer to selling Kingsmeadow, which we've already done. So it's a bit out of date. If we want the security, we need to update it to reflect the fact that we are moving back to Wimbledon. So who's involved? Let me turn over, check who I am. I'm Rob Crane, I'm on the Don's Trust board, I'm the contact there for this. Time limit means that I'm not really having much time to do it, so I've decided to do the managerial thing and delegate it. David Grounds is the Trust Secretary, it's this chap here. He, as Secretary, kind of overlooks the Constitution, so it's natural it kind of falls to him. And we have had a wonderful group of volunteers come forward to help out with this as well. I've listed them there. I'm going to save time and not read them out, but thank you all very much for stepping forward and lending your time. So there will be a bit of consultation through this. We've already had a few ideas put in, what we can think about. The Donors Trust Board at the moment, we are all elected for 2 years. Is that the right amount of time? That's the sort of thing we can ask you what your view is. Should it be 1 year, 3 years? Term limit. Should there be a maximum time to how many, should there be a limit on how many times a board member can re-stand? At the moment you can keep standing time after time after time. Do you want to put a limit on that and get in some fresh blood? That's the sort of thing we can consult you with. And trust officers. At the moment, trust officers, the chair and the vice chair, are elected by the board themselves. Would it be better to have those roles elected by you directly? That's the sort of thing we can think about as well. So the final draft, once we've gone away and done this consultation and done all the head scratching, the final draft will be put to you as what is called a whole rule amendment, and that will basically change the constitution all in one go. And then after that, we'll look at the restricted actions, because changing the restricted action is a restricted action. So we're going to have a much higher threshold to actually get those changed. So we'll look at them later on. So at the moment, the volunteers, they are going through the current constitution and comparing that with the current guidance document that the Football Supporters Association have issued. They're just comparing the two, looking where they differ, working out whether that difference is something we want to keep, whether we did it deliberately, or whether we should disregard that change and go with the best guidance at the moment. So where there are differences, the group will liaise with the FSA to work out their thinking. But the broad aim is also to make the Constitution a bit more streamlined, so anything which can come out of there, anything which is more like kind of an administrative matter, which we don't need to kind of lock down in the Constitution, we can take that out maybe and have it as a standing order which we can then update more frequently to reflect our needs as they change. So that is a quick romp through what is not usually a very rompy subject. If you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to email me and I will feed them into the group. Thank you very much. Did anyone fall asleep? Job.